Hey folks, Cozzy here from Pick One Pack One, and welcome back to Jekk's Bounty on a Budget series. And for this one, we're looking at Guard Duty. And I've got some sweet decks lined up for this, for a pretty unorthodox little mission. Let's get straight into things. So, for this particular mission, our mission rule is as follows. We need to protect the caravan at all costs. The caravan is a 2/4 unit that keeps on ploughing in to certain death. Nothing will stop the caravan. It attacks every single turn, and so we need to work out both how to deal with our opponent's deck, which is basically a whole bunch of Yetis and cheap flyers. So predominantly creature deck, but they keep just dropping in and trying to get in the way. And there's a lot of ambush units, so they get a lot of value on their creatures very quickly. So I've got two different strategies when it comes to protecting this particular caravan, and they're based around a similar premise, but we're using very different colors. The idea being that if I can use combat tricks to blow out combat, then I'm doing well, or if for this particular color I can silence my caravan, then it allows me to choose my profitable attacks because they don't have a lot of effective combat tricks. So that's the idea behind this particular Combrei list. Let's take a look. First of all, to try and beef up our caravan, we have the following. We have a playset of Finest Hours. One of our rares, which is probably the best card for us to draw in our opening hand, is the Paladin's Oathbook. Just to keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger each time it turns up, we're going to be happy. Otherwise, we've also got some equipment in the Gilded Glaive, or at the very top, a Ceremonial Mask. The rest of our deck is really just efficient creatures who can hopefully deal with combat or get big enough to trade off. One of the quirks of the AI in this particular mission is if they know that they can't have a multiple block to kill your caravan, they'll attack, and if they can trade off on a block, they'll do so. So if you can attack your creatures in to profitable trades, then you're doing well. We've got the usual ramp suite of the Initiate of the Sands, less Talirs favored than normal because I want to be able to attack in, as well as the Temple Scribes, and also the Amber Acolytes. All of this is hopefully getting me up so I can keep my power open for my Finest Hours. And then we have a Silence quartet, or tritet? Triplet. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh dear, Cozzy, you're having a good one. We have the Desert Marshal. May silence my opponent's units, but mainly it's actually there to silence my caravan. I have a couple of Dispels, and then the other rare in this deck is a playset of Valkyrie Enforcers. Now, whilst the Paladin's Oathbook is only really around in the Huru Aegis deck that we've seen in Ranked, Valkyrie Enforcers used in everything. It's used in Rakano Warcry decks, it's used in a whole bunch of the weapon decks. You sometimes even see it. There's been some unusual green-based control decks. And Valkyrie Enforcer, it's just an amazing rate. 3 cost 3/3 with flying, and the ability to silence is about the best removal that Justice has access to. And so that's the idea. We finally also have Praxis Displacers, either to bounce out inconvenient creatures or to get some additional vantage out of either our silencing units or to get more power or whatnot. It's worth noting that my initial plan when building for this on a budget was to try and bounce out my own caravan, but if you do so, you get the message, oh no, we've lost the caravan, and you die. So please don't be tempted to displace your own caravan. Only pain and misery lives down that particular path. And so yeah, here's our Combrei protection list, effectively Combrei Midrange. If I had a slightly better budget, I'd probably be adding in things like the Xenon Obelisk to make advantage of going wide, but we only have 8 rares, so we're looking at the Pali Oathbook as well as the Valkyrie Enforcer. The other one takes a much more aggressive and proactive approach. Basically, we're looking at having some of the best removal in the game, some of the best combat tricks in the game, and then a sweet little combination between our 2 most expensive cards in the deck, the Oni Quartermaster and the Smuggler's Stash. Basically, the idea is if I can make my caravan really big and aggressive and occasionally give it surprise quick draw, then I'm going to be able to blow out my opponent no matter what. So we have equipment like the Blackguard Sidearm, Ornate Katana. We have Obsidian Golem, so that when it dies, it creates more equipment for me. And all of this is designed to try and make my caravan as impermeable as possible, especially if I have fast combat tricks, torches, rapid shots to help out. The creatures are just there to help out with each other and also to pump up the power of our our particular weapons when we use them. And then we have the only Quartermaster, which works as a card draw engine whenever we use one of these weapons. So we make sure that we're always keeping our hand nice and stock, full of removal, and then the Smuggler's Stash to bring back whatever we want right at the end. We bring in an unusual unit that doesn't normally get a lot of love, but it's because it's perfect in this deck. The Granite Acolyte is not only a 2-1 that will trade into a lot of their creatures, which will allow me to make profitable attacks, but when I play it, it also adds an Iron Sword to one of my units, which is just what I need. It can allow me to draw cards and whatnot. So this is a fun, much more aggressive approach. Both of these have a central idea of trying to make my caravan big. Both of these are proactive decks because I find that if you're being too reactive, the Echo can out-card advantage you a lot of the time. And both of these, whilst not mainstream ranked decks, definitely involve cards that are related. In fact, I'm fairly certain, just quickly going back, that this Quartermaster Stash, I don't think it has many rares at all. The Smuggler's Stash isn't a rare, Quartermaster isn't. Yeah, there you go. This is the deck that has no rares whatsoever to try out for this particular mission. So if I wanted to, I could add a couple of slightly more powerful cards, but to be frank, whoops, I just don't think I need it. So let's continue on and protect. Hopefully bash up a couple of Yetis whilst we're at it. Start off with the Combrei, and then we'll go to my favourite one for last. Way too much power in this hand, so we'll be shipping it back straight away. Now it's worth noting that... Ooh, yes please. It's worth noting that they can still kill you by getting you down to 0. They have a lot of evasion with their flyers, so you are on a clock. It's not as though you can just do whatever you want. But by the same token, you also have a 2/4 on your first turn that you can keep attacking in with. And so I have the suspicion that they're going to struggle to keep up with this caravan as it gets bigger and bigger every single turn. Especially as I'll be able to wrangle my way through combat however I please, using my Praxis Displacers to control the board. Now the only thing that has me a little bit nervous is that I don't have a Finest Hour in my hand, but I feel as though we're doing okay. One of the unusual quirks of the AI here is you can always tell whenever they feel as though they can't beat you in combat because they'll attack with everybody who has a free attack. It's just the way that they'll do their priorities. We have a choice here between a Praxis Displacer or a Valkyrie Enforcer. If I play the Valkyrie Enforcer, it will stop them from attacking if they believe that they have a profitable attack available, which could get me into a little bit more trouble with my caravan. So what I could do is I could either hold back with the Desert Marshal or play my Praxis Displacer now. I think I'm happy enough just off-tempoing them. They are on 13 already, so beginning to attack wide could be a profitable decision. And this is where they are likely to accept an exchange. Would I rather do that or attack and get a double pump? I probably should have thought about that. I went on autopilot for playing that Oathbook. That's fine though. What we can also do is get ready to Desert Marshal next turn. Actually, we're fine. If that ends up being the only flyer, we can attack for 5. We could even play it really safe and just silence my own caravan so I don't need to worry at all. Actually, I think that's precisely what I'll do. We'll see what we can draw first. So they currently have 5 power. So they're unable to successfully block. You know what? Let's just go in and force them on a chump block. We have time. And we can even off-tempo them. So it's funny, I talked about the silence being primarily for stopping my caravan from attacking in. I also talked about the Oathbooks being primarily for single attacks, but they've been in so much trouble with the tempo and being off-tempoed by my Praxis Displacers that I haven't had to really worry about it at all. And even though I had lethal, this guarantees lethal in the air. I love the fact that Yetis that don't converse with me at all when they attack still have the linguistic nous to yell out "No" when they die. Makes you wonder why they're just so determined. Okay, and now time to get out our stash. So long as we have a reasonably cheap hand with a combat trick or a piece of equipment, this is a keepable hand. This one's a little bit more dubious, but we have the quarry for a bit of card draw, we have some Warcry. I think we'll be okay. We have one piece of interaction. The vast majority of their units are monocolored, which is why Annihilate is a perfectly fine card. What we really want to do is get to that third piece of power. That's a perfect draw for us. So what they're likely to do is to take the block here. I'm actually very much okay with that. We get a Warcry, and I get to keep developing with Maracano Outlaw. To pay 1 to kill both a 1/2 hatchling and also get +1/+1 on my next significant draw is a deal that I'm perfectly happy with. What's likely to happen is if they have another creature ready, we're probably going to have to play our Annihilate next turn. They'll probably be setting up a treble block, so maybe with a 2/1 or something like that, hoping to be able to take out the caravan, but they don't have one in hand, so they're just going to attack instead. Means next turn's going to be a perfect turn for me to quarry. I think we'll do it first, see what's happening. Take the torch here. So we need to ask ourselves whether we want to use the Annihilate now. It basically informs whether I'm going to attack with the Quartermaster. To be honest, I don't think it's worth the risk. We're in a fine spot right now. Like, yeah, we've had some pretty bad draws. Do I want to take the opportunity to get rid of this Scaly Gruin? Yeah, why not? Okay, so they've just had an Echo draw there. Now, if they're attacking with this Yeti Spy, what could they have that will make them want to attack into my Quartermaster? They've probably got a Snowball, and so that's what that Echo card was. So they probably drew the Jotun Hurler. So we'll take the 1 damage here. This is a linchpin of this deck, so... Oh, but the problem with that is they'll have 2 snowballs anyway. I guess at least we make them use it. Alright, come on. Let's see something better. It's a fair sight better. Funny thing was, when I do my practice to tune the lists, this was my psychotically aggressive deck. I think I won by turn 5 in 2 out of the 3 practice runs. So this is a sign that they're setting up a block on my caravan next turn, which is good to know. Means that it's been a good thing for me to hold on to this Annihilate. That's useful. Although we're flooding out a lot. Actually, I probably should have done that first, so I could have attacked in with the Quartermaster as well. So we know that they have 2. Did they use their snowball? Oh, it was draw a card from the Yeti Spy, not draw a snowball. So we know that they have 1 snowball in hand. Unfortunately, we haven't drawn anything that we need to help us out here, and they're going to be able to triple block on the caravan because we just drew so poorly. That's okay. We'll just run this again and hopefully not draw so many power. It's definitely the case that we're moving into the missions where the abilities can sometimes problematize what you want to do rather than make it easier. This is much better. We have the Ornate Katana, we have the Quartermaster if we draw extra power, we have an aggressive start with the Recano Outlaw, as well as the Obsidian Golem. I could be tempted to run the Obsidian Golem first, and that way when it dies, I'll be able to get myself... Oops, I just went into the wrong game. I was going to say I could be tempted to run the Obsidian Golem before the Recano Outlaw. That way, with it dying from an attack in... Where are we up to? This one's guard duty. That way, if it died, I'll be able to use that equipment to protect my caravan a little bit better. This isn't a great hand. 2 Smuggler Stashes is really not what we want. The Ornate Katana is useful, but I think we can do better. This hand is a bit worse. Well, actually no, I tell a lie. The Rapid Shot is actually really important. It'll be a while before they play something that we can Vara's favour effectively, because they generally play the Cloud Snake Hatchlings very early on. But what we'll do is we'll actually keep that, rather than using it to ramp here. We have no need to ramp. There's almost nothing in a deck that needs the second shadow. So instead we'll just keep on keeping on. Next turn we'll be able to play our Acolyte to turn our caravan into a 4/4. Alternatively, we could just get aggressive and kill these guys and stop them from drawing cards. I think that's what I'd like to do. It's more the card draw than the 1/1 that I care about there. I just want to deprive them of resources as quickly as possible. So this is the good news of the Granite Acolyte, is ordinarily they'd be able to chump block me and make my life quite uncomfortable. It is worth noting that I finished this by getting them down to 0. I know that's stating the obvious, but by having an effective clock, I'm still able to pressure them and to reduce the number of draw steps that they have to try and find an answer to my caravan. That's a shame. I was about to say I'll be happy to put the Ornate Katana on my Acolyte and attack in, knowing that I had a Smuggler's Stash in hand. That way I could get more value when I play it. But they didn't give me the opportunity to. So now I need to work out whether I'd rather put it here and get in 6 now, getting them down to 11. Or just get them down to 13 and put it on the Oni Ronin for the same reason of the stash that I mentioned before. So the catch of putting it on the Ronin is that I'll have less power available on whatever the card I draw. I've already got the Rapid Shot, so I'm not overly scared of this guy getting hurt. because they're out of power, we'll go ultra aggressive. So I believe they're holding that back as a chump block. So what do we get back? Currently we only get back a Granite Acolyte because all of my weapons are stuck on top of this caravan, which does make this smuggler's stash a lot less exciting than it should be. I think we'll take this Calm. They're likely to want to block with several units. And 3 is a number that I feel safe enough at. And this is them setting up the treble block on top of my caravan. Which is my opportunity to blow them out with my rapid shot. Which is nice because that's exactly how I drew it up. And it's worth noting, because I got flooded again here, I could have gotten in trouble if they would have drawn a powerful unit that could have blocked, but I probably should have done that first. It doesn't matter too much right now. But that's more indicative of the flood than anything else. There you have it, folks. That's how even the most aggressive colour combination in Eternal can still protect a caravan. Great. Well, what's coming up next? Oh, nice. I remember this one, the Copper Hall Traders. I look forward to working out some big butted decks for you guys to have some fun with. That'll be coming up in just a moment. As always, I don't like to say this too often, but I do like to remind, if you've enjoyed this, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, tell your mates, etc. It all helps, and it is all appreciated. Even feel free just to continue watching. And I'll see you guys in just a moment.